Hi, everyone. Good to see you. We are here to summarize the year 22-23. A few weeks ago, I saw you in Cleveland, and that was amazing. And I could share with you in person how meaningful what we're doing is. But now it's time to put everything into 15 minutes or so. So I apologize in advance if it's going to be very fast. I'll go through everything and hopefully you want that. And if you'll have any questions, feel free to ask. So I'll share the screen and we will start. Okay, summary of annual work plan. Let's start with the goals. We have 5 main goals. The goals are almost the same in the last few years because this is the heart of what we do. So we are trying to strengthen the connection between the Jewish people. We try to teach about Jewish peoplehood, and we try to do it by sharing information and by raising awareness about each other and about the needs of each other. And we are trying to create personal connections in order to make it happen. Another very major goal is connecting Beit Shean and the Valley of Springs. We are trying to make the partnership is doing it since the establishment of the partnership. This is a very important goal, and we are trying to create connections between kids, youth, young adults, and community members from the city and the valley in order to help the region grow and become stronger. We are also trying to identify opportunities to leverage collaboration between the organization that work on behalf of Cleveland. We understand that really we are stronger together. When we are better together. And if we will not work in an alignment, then the region will not grow to the extent that it can grow. We also try to advance STEM education through the educational systems of the city and the valley, and we do it from kindergarten until employment. It is an amazing goal to achieve, and the work that is being done in the field is impressive. And of course, helping at-risk kids and families. We do it through Youth Futures, and we try to reach all the goals in our programs. The audiences we touch are naturally our program participants, but also our program graduates. And from the program graduates, we also have a lot of volunteers, not people that are only connected with us, but also people that really care and want to be active and are ready to make their hands dirty just to help us go through things. It is also very important for us to make sure that the families of the participants are learning about us and are part of the experience. And I have to say that our staff and the satellite organizations that are working on behalf of Cleveland are also audiences, because if we will not all be motivated, and if we will not all understand what each of us are doing, we will never really be able to do our work in the best way possible. We must be aligned, we must care, and we must be motivated. So these are our audiences, naturally, together with the professional colleagues from the local authorities. Our impact circles are 6. We try to create an impact by creating collaboration with different organizations in the field, not only organizations that are working in Beit Shean and the Valley of Springs, but other organizations that are working on behalf of Cleveland or that Cleveland is invested in. We are also involved in external programs such as Bnei Menashe, Beit Shean Leadership, and MITF. We don't lead these programs, but we are very much involved. We care, and we help wherever our help is needed. We try to also create virtual connections because we know that it's not easy to meet. Sometimes we have to wait the whole year until we can actually meet each other. So until then, we create virtual connections on Zoom or on different platforms such as WhatsApp, Teams, and so on. The highlight, of course, is always the face-to-face circles. That's where we can really feel the impact and see the impact and taste the amazing tastes. And we see the impact in many of our programs, such as visitors and delegations, school twinning, camp-wise, and others. We also feel the impact in our youth and teens programs and young adults programs. This is really where people connect, and this is where changes happen. How do we measure our impact? We don't have a company that we work with and does the evaluation and measurement for us, but we learn it because we send surveys in all the programs that we lead. We also get written feedbacks, mostly on WhatsApp. That's a part of the Israeli culture. And a lot of feedbacks on social media. We also have personal conversation with participants of our programs, and Israelis are always direct. They say what they think, and we get a lot of comments and responses through that, and that we learn from. There's also responsiveness to requests. When we ask someone to be involved, we see how fast they answer. And if we invite them to an event, we see how many people participate in an event. And I have to say that a lot of people want to be involved, and a lot of people want to come to our events, sometimes more than we expect. And that's definitely something that testifies about how motivated people are to stay in touch with us. So when we look on numbers, we can talk about the numbers of the programs, but I'm going to talk only about a few things here. I'm going to talk about the STEM, because the numbers in the STEM are larger than any other numbers. And that's because the STEM is really is being implemented in all the levels of the community, from kindergarten through elementary school, high school, and the connection to the employment circles. So we touch more than 3,000 participants through the STEM programs, and that's really something that is incredible and is life-changing in many ways. Also, I want to talk about delegations and visitors. This year we had, I think, around 300 delegations and visitors. After many years of COVID, it is so wonderful to see everyone without masks, and we hope that more and more people will connect. So when I'm trying to think about the highlights of our year, it is so hard to choose only really the best, but the highlight is definitely the fact that we are meeting again in incoming delegations and outgoing delegations to Cleveland. When we meet, the sky is the limit. I mean, the connections, the personal encounters, the fact that you really care. You don't only learn about the other person, you see him, and then you care about him and about his kids and about his family. This is just priceless, and this was a highlight this year. I want to share about the outgoing delegations to Cleveland, the 3 delegations that went from our region to Cleveland and came back, really fell in love with the people and with the community. And they all shared with us that they felt that it made them grow. Visiting Cleveland made them grow because it made their world wider. They have a better understanding of the world and how it works, and it took them out of their little bubble. So this is definitely a highlight. Another highlight is really the fact that the partnership this year, more than in any other year, really felt like Cleveland's Israeli center. I think that we connected with most of the organizations and localities that Cleveland works in or investing in, and we felt that we can give an advice, we felt that many people came to learn from what we do, and we assisted them in any way we could. And it was wonderful to see how people come to Beit Shean to learn from this small community from Beit Shean and the Valley of Springs, of course. And we are very proud to represent Cleveland in whatever is needed. And the last highlight is conversation partners. Really, I don't think that I can stress enough how important this program is to reduce psychological barriers and also to create personal connections. Our participants are so impressed, and they feel more secure about and confident about their English language. And also, they just want to be more involved because they have new friends that they care about. So these are our highlights for the year. Nothing could have happened without the dream team. And I do have a dream team of amazing 4 coordinators, Moria, Rina, Adi, and Sivan. I'm happy to share that Moria just gave birth last Friday to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. This is her 5th child, and we wish her speedy recovery and a lot of joy from her baby. When we talk about the changes and challenges of the year, I have to start with actually the fact that many of our, let's say, partners or even program graduates are running in the local elections. And that is a challenge. It's a lot. We are very proud of them, but also it creates a lot of sensitivities that we need to be aware of. There are also organizational changes. Some of the organizational changes are changes of in the local authorities, but we need to address them, because if someone is doing a change in the youth department and we are working with the youth department, we must acknowledge the change and maybe take a step back until they figure out what's happening with them. That affects our work. So this is something else that we had to deal with. And there were a lot of organizational changes in many levels of partners and in the local authorities. Another, I don't know if, I mean, it is a challenge, but it's more something that we need to address. This is our P2G friends. We love them. They really care, but we also feel that COVID created a distance. And even though they are involved, we don't want them to be involved through Zoom. We want them to be personally involved. And we feel that we need to find a way to make them motivated again. Not that they don't care, we just want them to be more involved. And this is something that we are thinking about a lot for next year. And last, the circle of life. Effie left, and it took us almost 6 months to find someone else to step into his big shoes. Part of the problem was the language barrier. Many people just did not have English in the level required, and some didn't have the profile that we were looking for. It took us almost 6 months, and eventually we did find Sivan, who is simply amazing, and she jumped into the deep water, and she's doing an incredible work, and we are very happy that she's a part of our team. So when we look forward on 23-24, what we want to focus on is definitely young adults. We understand that the young adults are the future of the partnership. Young adults in Israel and also in Cleveland. The 248 was an amazing program that created a lot of active volunteers, and we feel that it needs to continue. And we want our young adults to meet your young adults, because if we will not have young blood and fresh blood of people that are motivated, it will be very, very hard to change, and then we will not grow, and we want to grow. So we need young people, and hopefully 248 will be launched again, or the new program with young adults will start this year. Another change is about youth and teens. We rethought the whole teen programs, and we wanted to get to more teens. In order to get to more teens, we had to change the model. And I have to say that we are still working on it, meaning our model is not finished yet. We're still discussing it, but we already have a direction. We want to have about 50 ninth graders. Until now, we only dealt with 10th or 11th graders. Now we want to start from the 9th grade and expose them on the 9th grade to the whole city, valley, and a little bit Israel diaspora connections, and to start create the interest. Then on the 10th grade, we want to create a program for about 40 teens that will learn in a deeper way about Israel and diaspora relations. And we'll also connect because there will be teens from the city and from the valley. Hopefully on the 11th grade, we will create tracks, a track for teen shinim. These are teens that want to become shinim in the future, and they will focus on Israel diaspora and on the skills that they need to have in order to succeed in the screening process. And another track for kids that want to stay active in their local communities, and we will give them the tools as much as we can. So this is what we're thinking about for next year, but we are still working on it, and we will share more information in the future. When we think about next year, it is very clear that we want to deepen the connections with our partners, especially, as I mentioned before, with our graduates and with our volunteers. And this is something that we want to do by creating a more meaningful friends club. This is something that hopefully Sivan will lead. Also, we have to rethink staff for this year because we work very hard on making the Jewish people stronger and grow. And we have some staff members that will go on maternity leave this year. So we understand that we will have temporary staff members. And this is something that will definitely affect our work, and we have to be prepared. And last, partnerships. We know that partnerships help us grow. We cannot work solo. We need to work with partners, good partners, and we need to see where our interests come together and grow from there. So we want to make more partnership and bring more people to the table. And now, after sharing so much about the partnership, let's talk about Youth Futures. So Youth Futures had an amazing year. In Beit She'an, they have 7 mentors, and they touched 402 families. And that means 134 children and 268 parents. They also, for the first time, had this year national service volunteers. And the national service volunteers also worked with kids, which actually allowed them to get to more families and more children that are getting tools and are being empowered. They worked in 6 elementary schools, including ultra-Orthodox schools. In the Valley of Springs, Rina, who was the director of Youth Futures, gave birth, went on maternity leave, and instead of her, Sari Mordechai stepped into the role of director. And actually, Rina decided to leave because she lives far away. And now with 2 young children, she felt that she needs to be closer to her house. And Sari is the permanent director of Youth Futures now. In Youth Futures Valley of Springs, we had 6 mentors this year that touched 288 families in 3 schools. One of them is middle school. We'll talk about it in a minute because there was an issue there, and 1 baby future mentor. The highlights for Youth Futures Beit She'an was the domestic violence prevention program that gave amazing tools to the mentors. And also, sorry, just 1 second. I'm stopping share. Sorry, I completely lost my voice and now I'm sharing screen again. Okay. So we're back to Youth Futures. So we were talking about the domestic violence prevention program, which really just tried to raise local awareness about domestic violence. This is something that they deal with and too often, let's say, and the mentors receive training. Also, they had a workshop for mothers and daughters. 16 participants were part of this workshop for mothers and daughters. And not only did they get the tools, but also bonded in many ways. Another thing that they're very proud of is the National Volunteer Day. During the National Volunteer Day, different groups volunteer in different locations, and the kids learned that they can give and not only receive. That was very meaningful for the children, and this is definitely a highlight for Youth Futures in Bet Shean and also for Youth Futures in the Valley of Springs. And the last thing is Experiential Learning Center. Thanks to the 2 national service volunteers, they established a learning center that helped around 10 kids receive tutoring and academic assistance in order to help them narrow the gaps, their learning gaps, and it is very meaningful. In addition to the work of Youth Futures in Bet Shean, Lior also led a group of 20 graduate kids, the alumni program, in 2 different groups, for girls and for boys. And 2 highlights of their program is the female empowerment program. Actually, the girls volunteer in the learning center that the national service volunteers operate, and that gave them an amazing feeling that they can help others. And they also created Cafe Dilemma, in which graduates could discuss things that bother them, things that are on their mind, and the fact that they could share and offer solutions was another thing that empowered them, and it was amazing. The main challenge was actually the understanding that families don't use the social services that they deserve in the best way possible. And usually they the mentors find out about it when they do the intake. And in the intake, they understand that many families just don't understand that they are entitled to get social services. So this is something that they're working on and that they will keep working on. And last is Youth Futures in the Valley of Springs. Over there, they had relatively new staff. So part of their highlights was training the mentors. Training the mentors was meaningful to give them the right tools to deal with the challenges that they had. They also did a motivational workshop for teens. In the motivational workshop, they invited Uri Sasson, a bronze medalist from the Rio de Janeiro Olympics, and his lecture was inspirational for the kids and also for the parents. There was also a Hanukkah celebration that they did in the Absorption Center in Beit Alpha with Ethiopian teens, and the fact that they could give to others and help them and make them happy was very, very meaningful for the kids in Youth Futures, but also for the kids in Beit Alpha. And last, there was a mother-daughter activity for 8 pairs of mothers and daughters that helped them become closer and create stronger bonds. The main challenges this year for Youth Futures in the Valley of Springs was the lack of cooperation in Shaked Middle School. And although they tried to solve it, at a certain point, they understood that there is no cooperation and that it's better to give the mentor to a different school that really needs it. And so the mentor is now operating in Bikurim Elementary School. So actually, we don't have a mentor now in Youth Futures in the middle school. And the last challenge was the developmental challenges of kids after COVID. In order to address it, the mentors tried to do additional training for themselves and get better tools to work with the challenges that the kids had. And also they created parents workshop in order to give guidance and tools to the parents themselves. And also they created different programs and workshops for parent and child together to make their relationship stronger and help the communication between them be a little bit better. So when we talk about Youth Futures for next year, we are talking about 7 mentors and 6 mentors, almost the same number of mentors as this year. We are going to touch, hopefully, 130 kids in Beit She'an and 140 in the Valley. We will still have 2 national service volunteers in Beit She'an, but we are hoping to have also 2 national service volunteers in the Valley of Springs too, and hopefully by that reach even more kids. And in the Valley of Springs, we also hope to grow to 2 mentors for Baby Future, unlike last year where we had only 1. That's it for now. Thank you, all of you, for your support. Thank you for caring. Thank you for taking your morning to listen to us and to hear us summarizing this year. And I can't wait to see you in person again as soon as possible. If you have any questions, now is the time. Thank you so much.